Alright, welcome back. This is just going to be on foot technique. I'm just going to quickly go over everything that I think is important that, like it's all spread out on the internet and it'll be a while to kind of figure it all out. So that's going to be like things like posture, pedal settings, and then the basics on each technique, the fundamentals. So start off with seat posture. Basically, you want to be kind of sitting up straight. Ignore the sun. It's very blinding. Sitting up straight. You want your legs at a downward angle because if they're too high, you have no range of motion. You don't want to be sitting too close to the pedals either, because then your feet will have, less range of motion on the up. And this is as high as like my foot can go. So if I'm sitting like this, then it's very hard to play. Whereas if I sit a bit further back, I have much more range of motion. Pedal settings. You definitely want, especially if you're going to be learning ankle technique, you want a high spring tension, and that's going to be like at least medium. You can get out, you can do it with low spring tension, but definitely at least medium or higher. I have mine pretty much maxed out because it also depends on the weight of your leg. Like I have long legs, I have big feet, so you need to I need a bit more resistance from the pedal. But beater angle is the same. You want it at least 45 degrees from the head of the drum. I have mine pretty much like 80 degrees. It's way too much. I should probably actually lower them a little bit because they're actually hitting my foot while I play. But yeah, that's beater angle. That just adds more resistance so you can so I can change that there. The angle between the two pedals, like with the drive shaft here, this metal piece, you don't want it too extreme like this because then there's way too much friction. I can't actually even move that. That's way too much friction there. So I like to have mine pretty flat. And if you do want it angled, which you probably do, then just make sure the angle on both of these is the same. So they're both kind of facing you in the same way. One of them is more angled than the other. Because that just leads to good ergonomics. For the first technique, I'll be going over full leg motion. It's basically, actually, I'll even do it on the floor because it's pretty much the same as doing it on the pedal. You're just stomping. You're raising your leg up and stomping it down. Really, the only thing about this is whether you're going to be contracting your calf muscle. So I like to have it contracted because that puts more weight on the toe and at the ball of my foot. And I can really dig into the pedals that way. And then if I want to, I can use this position to go into ankle technique. Whereas if it's flat, I need to raise my feet up to go into ankle technique. That's full leg motion. Probably the best way is to just play on the floor, like all the time. That's how I did it. Like even before I got my double bass pedals, I was playing to songs on the floor, and when I went on them with the full leg motion, I was already way ahead. So it's pure muscle. There's very little technique to it. The ankle technique now is very different. It is very much like technique based and muscle memory based. Basically, this is why you need the high spring tension, because you need the pedal to swing back and forth like that, and you need to use that spring and use that bounce to generate the stroke. The muscles you're using are just the calf muscle. You're just contracting your calf muscle. This is actually one variation of the ankle technique. You'll see, I'll show you there's a second variation, but this is the first and probably the easier one, where you're kind of just contracting your calf muscles on the pedal. Now, don't do this, because this isn't working with the spring, The spring is doing its own thing. You still need to start at a certain tempo, so that's going to be around 160 BPM, 190 BPM that you start at. Basically, just put your foot on the pedal, try and do this nervous twitch thing that you might do in a waiting line or something, or like when you're waiting for an appointment. Try and do that on the pedal, and that's basically it. You want to kind of put your foot a bit further back so you have more leverage. And then over time, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a few days to a few weeks to get this down. Or longer. It really depends how much you practice. But over time, once you get each foot going, then you have to try to combine them, which, you can find loads of exercises online. I'd recommend, looking up stuff on that. The second variation of ankle technique is quite different. It's basically, instead of this contraction, where you're like shifting the weight of your foot onto the ball of your foot to get the stroke out, this one you're actually like hitting the ground with your ankle. I'm actually like deliberately raising up the ball of my foot to hit back down again. In the other one, I'm like, the spring is raising up my foot, but I'm not. And now in this one, I actually am raising up my foot, which gives me a lot more power and control. This one is best learned heel down. It gives you, once again, it gives you a lot more power and control, although it's much more muscular as well, so you'll use a lot more strength doing it. So this one is probably best learned heel down on a low spring tension. Get the feeling of the pedals, and then slowly, get that swing going, and then try and bring your heel up. I have a good course in that I could send you if you want. Just let me know. That's it for ankle technique, pretty much. Once you get these techniques down, just do endurance. Set it at a low enough tempo where you can do it for 5-10 minutes, and just, once again, watch a movie, do any of that. Watch a YouTube video. It can be anything. Like if you want to put on a movie and play for 2 hours, you can, and you'll be flying in no time. But that depends if you have a pad or even anything to play on. Like you can get away with like a cardboard box with towels and stuff over it. That works as well. That's what I started on. But that's it for ankle technique. Quick warm up I do with a full leg motion. I just play 110 BPM for 5 minutes. It's very. It gets the blood flowing to your legs. And you can do the same on ankle technique. 5 minutes at like 170, 160 BPM. Whatever's easiest. Like surprisingly with ankle technique, 170 BPM is probably easier than 160, because you can't go slow with it. It's very, it is definitely like dependent on the spring. That's pretty much it. I'll show a quick demonstration on a fill you can do, applying the full leg motion, because it's a very fun fill and it sounds very cool. It's just hand, foot, foot. That's it. It's surprisingly simple, but it's also pretty hard to get fast and very tight. Just play it to a click, slow tempo, 5 minutes at a time. Try and get it going. Another version would be hand, or four hands instead of 2 hands and 2 feet. So it's that one's the same. I should show you really quick there, because there's a bit of a cheat you can do. Instead of brute forcing each